Well, our strategy when it comes to hedging remains a consistent risk management approach. So for us, it's a non-speculative approach. We don't speculate around the oil price. It's more about having a stable form of cash flow so that we can actually execute our capital expenditure program. That is the most that I can say. We had a very good hedge in the past year along the same basis that was executed, and we did very well out of that hedge. We made approximately about 5 billion rand, but I think certainly going forward we still need to make decisions about hedging, and we have not made those decisions yet.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the new projects that's on the pipeline right now?
Yeah, we've got some very new exciting projects in our pipeline. We've got a project, a cold to liquid project in China. That is actually in the second part of feasibility phase that's in the pipeline. We've also recently announced a project which is in pre-feasibility. It's just moved into feasibility phase in Uzbekistan. So very exciting territory as well. And then of course we've got our existing projects, growth projects in South Africa. There's Project Mafuta, also still in very early phases of pre-feasibility, also a coals to liquids project. And we are doing further exploration in Mozambique, and also in other parts of the world. So lots of exciting prospects on the horizon for us there.
Lots of excitement there.
Yes.
Let's talk about Africa first of all. What's the strategy in sort of Sasol's strategy for Africa?
Yes, like I said, in Africa, in South Africa in particular, one has to bear in mind that more than 85% of our profitability comes from South Africa, or let's say the Southern African region. So a big part of our growth also, certainly in the next couple of years, will come from that. Project Mafuta, which is the coals to liquids project that I actually spoke about. We're looking at about an 80,000 barrels a day project in South Africa itself. And so that is still in pre-feasibility state. So we in the early phases, we're doing some environmental impact studies, etc. The other part, a big part of growth that we've got in the Southern African region is in Mozambique. Currently, we've got an existing pipeline that we actually constructed, and we did it in partnership with the Mozambican government, as well as the South African government, that brings gas from Mozambique into South Africa. And a big part of our expansion, certainly on the gas side, exploring for additional natural gas, both onshore and offshore, is in Mozambique. Of course, there is another project that we're doing in Africa. We've got a smaller stake in the project now. It's in Nigeria. It's a gas to liquids project that is still in construction phase, and that we're looking at bringing on stream at the end of about 2011. So that's also in Africa, a big part of the growth coming there. And we've got some oil exploration that we're actually doing in Gabon, which is in West Africa as well.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Sasol has had a lot of bad press in the past, and we know a lot of it has to do with the legacy issues, and one cannot generally have much control over it. How do you work around it?
Well, I certainly joined Sasol to make a difference, and that was a big part of my excitement and motivation. And I think Sasol has actually made a huge effort, certainly in the past couple of years, and this is certainly commitment from the board and from top management to bring in new executives and to bring new blood into the organization, to actually change the way we do things, change the way we perceived in the organization. And this is certainly spreads right across from government relations to the way we engage with our customers, with our suppliers. We actually take values-driven leadership, which is the cultural transformation change that we're actually doing in the company. It's been embarked upon a few years ago. We take that very seriously, and I think this has actually made a huge difference to the way we actually perceived in the marketplace and by government as well. Of course, one can always do more, and we constantly work on what more we can do to actually improve from that side. But I certainly think that the company is changing in a positive way in which we perceived in the market.
What business principles would you impart if you had to be considered one of the most influential women?
Well, I think, it's about being inspiring to others. And, what also came out from this conference that we're attending, it's about developing tomorrow's leaders. So it's not only about you as a leader looking after yourself, but it's looking at growing talent in your organization and developing others to actually light the candle for others so that they can actually take the light going forward. And so I certainly think there's a lot that we can actually do in our individual environments as women to develop other women leaders, to make it a more conducive environment to keep women, especially young women, in the organization, to keep them and grow them into the kind of talent that they will be tomorrow's leaders. And I think that is the most important role that we as women leaders can actually play.